It's Kevin Harlan.
Kevin Harlan walks up.
We brought food.
How you doing, Kevin?
As we're about to be joined here by Kevin Harlan, the voice of Super Bowl 54.
And you've got food, which is great.
Food. Now, who would be better to break down someone eating food to do the play-by-play than Kevin Harlan?
That sandwich right there with a double shot of espresso and energy, you're the man. You're the man.
And he would fit the sponsor in the sandwich.
And Doritos to wash it down.
Oh, my goodness.
That's perfect.
It's great to have you back,
Great
and
to see
congratulations
you guys.
on another Super Bowl.
Thank you.
We know that oh, man. Now, did you call Andy's Super Bowl in 04?
I did not, no. I started in Super Bowl 45.
So right after.
I did Rodgers and Roethlisberger, Green Bay, and Pittsburgh and Dallas was my first one.
Now, obviously, though, you've covered plenty of Andy's stuff.
Yes,
Do you feel that this week that's the story?
Well, it's one of the stories. I think it rightly has shifted to other things. I think for the players, the Chiefs players, and we live in Kansas City. I used to do the Chiefs for 9 years on radio, so and we still live there. And my dad was with him actually in Green Bay, and we're family friends. So, I mean, the Reids, yeah, they go back a long way when he was a tight ends coach in Green Bay with the Packers. But I think that he is one of the main stories, and just sentimentally and emotionally, you would look at wouldn't it be great to win for a guy who's the sixth winningest coach of all time? Wouldn't it be great if he could finally get one? But I felt the same way for Bill Cowher. I felt the same way for Mike Holmgren, and there are a lot of coaches that get this far and just cannot seem to grab it. Those guys did. I think Andy will, and I think he's got the quarterback to do it too. The quarterback is amazing.
Sure is, man. And
amazing.
He has been a huge story here. But before we get to him, I want to be the first to probably ask about Garoppolo before Mahomes.
Okay,
because
good. I'm glad.
They are the second-ranked offense by points,
right.
and nobody talks about that. Why?
Nobody. I don't know, and he was almost at 4,000 yards.
Yeah, they scored almost 30 points a game
because they've been crushing people with their run attack, and I guess, Tennessee was doing it, but with one guy. They're doing it with two undrafted guys. I mean, they have an Heisman Trophy winner back there running, sledgehammering his way through all these people. But they got two undrafted guys that are running well for San Francisco, and it's been almost too easy. They ran right through Green Bay, ran right through the Vikings, and so he hasn't had to throw and show what he can do. But as we know, and his numbers would say this, he can throw the ball, and they made the trade with New England because he could throw. They loved his arm. They loved where, and he's 25-3, I think, as a starter, or some ridiculous number like that. So the guy's a winner, and he may come out throwing. He's got the best tight end in football with Kelsey. So we have the two best in the league. He's got speed, and he's got talent at wide receiver. I mean, listen, that may be one of the stories that develops. Why didn't we talk about this during Radio Row Week?
But you remember the guy in Atlantic City.
That's right. That guy did. He was on the ball. He knew what he was talking about.
Is it really not a negative that Garoppolo can't throw? It is because of their run game being so strong, but I think it's more of Patrick Mahomes just being that special, and the storylines are just the Hollywood-type storylines, 24-0, coming back in that game, coming back in the next game, what he's been able to do on the field, 50-plus touchdowns 2 years in a row, right? So it's not really that Garoppolo isn't good enough to garner the attention. I just think you have this guy looking across at him from the other side of the field.
He's superhuman,
and
right?
He's superhuman.
Yeah. It's like when Kobe or Michael or LeBron is in a series, and you start talking about Kobe, Michael, or LeBron, and that's how this guy kind of is. He's kind of, first of all, when you hear scouts and coaches tell you almost to a man that this guy's got an arm that does things and can throw off schedule and can do things on the fly that quarterbacks can't do, and not just throw it, but throw it on a dime. Those are the things that really catch their eye, and that's what makes this kid so special. He's just a second-year starter. He was MVP as a first-year starter, but one of the great things that happened to him, he was under Alex Smith, with the Redskins now, but with the Chiefs before, and Alex Smith taught him how to watch tape and taught him how to conduct practice and how to construct your week and when to get the game plan and begin to really go through it, and what to do on Friday when you meet with the coach and go over your first 15 plays, and what to do off the field, how to conduct your business and how to handle your wife and your family, just all these different things that you don't learn unless you go through it. But he got this PhD course in how to be a quarterback. Then he gets a quarterback-centric coach in Andy Reid, who's been innovative and cutting edge and has designed things just for this kid because he's so unique. It's like the perfect storm. So I see why it's all Mahomes, but I'm glad you mentioned Garoppolo because I think he will be heard heard from in this game at some time.
Let's talk about the game in general, because we've had people on here who are gambling experts, and we've talked to, of course, former players and everything as you do throughout the week. And everybody talks about how tough this game looks to be to pick.
Yes.
So you've obviously seen firsthand and called so many good games. I mean, the Eagles Super Bowl a few years ago was a great game.
Wasn't that a beauty?
How do you think?
Woo! That was a blast.
Certainly
Your voice was all over our station for
Oh,
about 2
good.
months.
Oh,
Yeah.
man, that Philly special was a blast. That was so fun.
So how does this Super Bowl rank for you in terms of excitement leading up to it, and how close and exciting it could be?
Well, I'm very excited. I love the fact that it's a point and a half. Vegas has it at a point and a half. I think we've only had 4 or 5 Super Bowls that have ever come out of the chute with that kind of an odds. So that to me, right off the bat, says, hey, this deserves our attention. But then you got Mahomes, and you got the story about Reid. You got the great defense of San Francisco. You got Garoppolo's unbelievable starting record as a quarterback. San Francisco's kind of a flagship franchise. The Chiefs and Lamar Hunt, first time in 50 years. I mean, there's so many great stories coming up to this. Now, to make full disclosure, I broadcast the Chiefs for 9 years. We live in Kansas City. We raised our kids. My family flying here as we speak, and they're decked out in Chiefs stuff. My daughters were born when I was doing the Chiefs, so they know what Arrowhead is like, and they grew up Chiefs fans. But the game is sexy, I think, in every way you look at it. And I think the great fans of Kansas City and the great fans of San Francisco will mesh well. We've got a common denominator in Joe Montana because he played for both. So, everything, it's like a broadcaster's dream, right? Like, everything that you want to talk about, you check every box because it's all right there.
Now, I want to ask you, because you brought up the Philly special. Kevin Harlan's our guest. He's going to call Super Bowl 54. He also calls Super Bowl 52. What do you remember about the Eagles that week in preparation for your broadcast?
Well, Doug Peterson was in Kansas City. He also was in Green Bay, so I guess I'm kind of tied to Doug a little bit. But the full story was amazing, what he had done. I'd called the championship win over the Vikings just before, after the Vikings had taken care of the Saints in Minneapolis on that dramatic final play and knocking out Breeze. So, Philly was kind of the team that I've watched them now a couple times, did a couple Monday night games, so I kind of felt like I knew them. I knew their story, felt bad about Wentz. He was going to be the MVP that year for sure, had he not blown the knee. So, it was, and listen, Philadelphia was kind of like Kansas City. They had not been there in forever, right? I mean, they had not won. So since the '60 championship win over in Franklin Field over the Packers.
That's right.
So they had not won. So their story was a lot like Kansas City's in that regard. So, but what I remember about that play was we were in the end zone at the opposite end of the field. So I've got the binoculars on. And my whole thing in doing radio play-by-play is stay in sequence. There's the snap. There's the turn. There's the handoff. That's how you kind of get your rhythm going into the play. And so I was making sure I stayed in sequence. And sure enough, and I'm not a bright person. I've got a very low IQ. But on that particular play, I stayed in sequence. So I got the fake and all this. And here goes Foles. And there goes the throw by the tight end and all that other stuff. And so it worked out well. But it was so fun. That you don't get many plays like that. And you don't get many plays like that. They feel
you had them
afterwards.
back-to-back weeks, though. You said you did the Minneapolis Miracle?
Yeah, I did, yeah.
So you had the Miracle, you had the Philly Special, and the cat in the CDW
Red Zone, yeah.
Which one was
CDW, people who get it, yeah.
I remember the sponsor. I don't remember what.
I know, that's how everybody is. He got the sponsor in, which was good. But I had, and my boss was sitting next to me both times. That and the drunk out in Santa Clara a couple years before that when he ran out there. And so there's
a fan on the field.
I just had a low IQ there, right there. There's no governor inside the head that will say, "Stop, you idiot! Stop in your tracks."
It really seems like you have. I mean, to say you have fun with what you're doing seems like an understatement.
Oh, my dad told me. He said, the best thing in the world is to wake up every morning and love what you're doing, looking forward. Now, I hate the travel and I hate leaving my wife. That's always been the worst part. But when the ball is thrown up and when the kickoff is going, I love what I'm doing. I love the business of broadcasting, and I love sports, and this is the perfect marriage. And I love doing it.
It's I do some play-by-play on a lower level, but you hear he swings his right foot through the football, and it's like, man, how he processes to be that descriptive is just
it probably drives some people crazy because that's more of an old-time way to do it. And I had an internship at the forebearer to ESPN Radio was Enterprise Radio. and they were out of Avon, Connecticut, which, of course, we know ESPN was in Bristol, and they're very close together. And this Enterprise Radio, by the way, they hired 2 interns that summer, in summer of 1981. Me and a kid named Sean McDonough. We were the 2 interns, and we shared the same upstairs room in this old lady's house, which is a whole nother segment, by the way. But we had to do that at dark when the kids
We
aren't
buried
listening.
the lead there.
Yeah. But anyway, we they got old radio producers from Mutual, ABC, ESPN, and NBC, and I'd asked them, if you ever have any old tapes, I'd love for you to bring them up. Back up, because I'd love to listen to them. So I listened to these old tapes of guys in the 30s, 40s, and 50s doing radio play-by-play, and it was like Barber and Chuck Thompson in Baltimore, just like all these famous voices. And they would and the description they would talk about where the shade was on the field, and how a swirl of dust had blown up around the shortstop, and how a pitcher was looking in and straightening out the bill of his cap and shaking off the sign, and just like in the batter knocking, you don't hear that anymore.
Yeah.
But I was.
It always stands out.
I was captivated by it, and it probably drives a lot of people crazy.
No,
they'll let me know that.
I love it.
But that to me is how I'm going to do it.
I will say, I remember, and I know you got to run, but with being in college doing the NCAA tournament, and me and my roommate would say, "That Harlan gets me again!" And it's just, we look forward to that. Real quick, I know basketball or football, what you like better?
It's like, who's my favorite? I've got 4 children with my wife, and who's my favorite child? I love them all.
Well, I like doing basketball.
I love it too. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love radio. I will say that radio NFL is number 1.
Well, he'll have the call. Radio NFL,
yeah.
the biggest game of them all, this Sunday on 97.3 ESPN. Super Bowl 54. That's the voice, Kevin Harlan.
Thank you, guys. How
Thank
fun
you,
to be on
Thank
with
you,
you. Thank you
Kevin.
so much.
Thank
Nice
you.
to meet
Pleasure,
you. Nice
Kevin.
to see you.
Yep.
Thank you so much. Enjoy the chow.
Yeah.
Enjoy the drinks. Enjoy your time here in Miami.
Double shot.
Double
right
shot,
here.
baby. Bring it down the hatch.
A bag of Doritos is going with it.
Can he just follow me around, like, while I eat, just narrate every meal?
That is Kevin Harlan, and he, like all guests on the Boardwalk, on the hotline.